Lalu bagaimana tren NFT di tanah air dan bagaimana tren reality chain? Telah hadir bersama kami di studio Reality Chain Founder and the Bio Network CEO, Miss Pandu Sastrowardoyo. Hello, Miss Pandu, how are you?
Hi, I'm really good, and thank you for having me.
Okay, Miss Pandu, what is the current progress right now for the reality chain around the world? Would you mind to please enlighten us with that?
So, metaverse is the current trend, and a lot of this is actually enabled by NFTs. The technologies that you mentioned allow ownership of land, ownership of items within the metaverse. And one of the companies that I actually helped create, Reality Chain, is focusing on that. The creation of new metaverses as a service, ensuring that companies can create their own metaverses, NFT-enabled, create galleries within the world, and even create land within the world itself. For the current situation of the metaverse, there's a ton of metaverses out there. And of course, when we're talking about the metaverse, it didn't start with blockchain. It actually started many, many years before blockchain. William Gibson created the concept when he created the concept of cyberspace. And then it was named by Neil Stephenson back in the 90s when he named it the metaverse. Virtual worlds where you can meet people, where you can socialize with people, and ensure that you have a good relationship with people on top of the metaverse, even human relationships. Now, the revolution is related very distinctly with NFTs because the control of ownership of items within the metaverse has become really linked to how blockchain secures your ownership. For example, I can own a wearable, I can own a piece of land, and those pieces of land and those wearables are controlled by the NFT that I hold within my wallet. Now, the company that I'm initiating, Reality Chain, is trying to ensure that any company, any project, any blockchain project or non-blockchain project would be able to initiate their own metaverse and create their own world for the users to utilize.
Wow, so where do you see this going to? And what is the potential? What is the limit for something like this in the future?
There's actually a huge growth that is coming. Right now, the NFT metaverses are still a bit niche. The people who are actually still doing it's not mainstream yet. But soon, once people realize, first of all, the mainstreaming of NFTs happened within the pandemic, during the pandemic. When people realized that NFTs, those digital objects, are real objects because of the ownership function. Because of that, the next evolution would be towards actually having a metaverse. Even now, because of the pandemic, we socialize with each other on top of digital platforms. Current digital platforms are text, Zoom, video conferencing, but of course, there's actually another way to interact. And these are through what we call the metaverse. We're doing metaverses that are, at this moment, two-dimensional, but in the future, we will go towards three-dimensional metaverses as well. The focus is in social interaction between the metaverse, between people on the metaverse, and the other focus is to initiate new metaverses for any company that wants to create one.
Okay, so we would say that there is a huge potential, right, for the reality chain around the world. And do you have a definite goal when it comes to building a community there? Is it a certain number of sign-ups, or is it a particular type of vibrancy you are going for?
We have a very strong goal that is B2B rather than B2C. So B2C, of course, we do need users, more metaverse, more users in the metaverse, more interaction that needs to be there. But the other goal of Reality Chain is to ensuring that companies sign up and create their own metaverses on top of our platform. A metaverse, a whole metaverse is connected to those metaverses that they create. So we have an aim of having one new metaverse every 2 months.
Okay.
So that's going to be connected to the main metaverse. So it's going to be one whole metaverse, but like each city can be deployed every 2 months. And that's going to be starting from the end of this year.
Okay, wow, that's cool. And then on the idea of having a metaverse for social interaction versus having a metaverse to make a private, the metaverse isn't as structured as in real life. So is there a hope for people who are realizing that NFTs are great, but I want more? Or are they two different classes of places in the metaverse?
This is actually going hand in hand. The profit motive and also the relationship motive. The building motive, creating of new things within the metaverse, and also, getting money from it. The two go hand in hand because when you're creating a metaverse, it necessarily needs to be social.
Okay.
Otherwise, it wouldn't get adoption. So once the social metaverse gets adoption, then you would be able to profit from it. And if you create your own LAN on top of the metaverse and no one is in there, then that LAN would not be of any utility. And when we're talking about utility here, we're talking about the way that people interact in world, of course, but also buying and selling of items and buying and selling of land. So the items can be avatars, the items can be wearables, and what's important is that interaction remains solid, because otherwise, why would you be in there?
Okay, Ms. Pandu will continue our discussion. Yes, there are also people who say that we spend our time too much in this universe, that we need more perks instead of other metaverses. Can people actually have both?
Yes, so one of the things that we're trying to create within Reality Chain is that you can have art galleries, for example. And art galleries can be physical art galleries and also virtual art galleries at the same time. We're collaborating with two NFT marketplaces to do this. One is the Unique One Network, and the other is the Paras ID NFT marketplace. And both of them are actually dealing in NFT art. So the idea being, if you walk physically, not in the metaverse, but like physically, you go into an art gallery, there's a QR code next to the painting or next to whatever you're seeing. And when you scan that QR code, you're actually teleported inside a metaverse. And that metaverse actually is a copy of everything you see around you. That's sort of something that we're trying to develop as well. We already have a demo up with Paras, and we also have a demo up with Unique One as well. And one of the things that is actually very important about Reality Chain is that Reality Chain is a multi-chain, multi-engine metaverse as a service, which means that we can have 2D experiences, we can have 3D experiences, we might in the future have augmented reality experiences. And we also have multiple support for multiple types of blockchains. There's not just one blockchain, there's a lot of blockchains, and currently we support the NEAR protocol. We also support Polygon Matic, and we also are going to be supporting the Octopus network as well, hopefully within the end of this year.
Okay. And how different are you in metaverses and real life? Would you mind to explain about it more? And are you more spontaneous in digital space or like what?
This is actually very interesting. You actually do have a different persona for each life. Like even when we're talking on WhatsApp and we're talking face to face, we might have sort of a different personality. And especially in the metaverse, that sometimes you can be anonymous or you can have a different persona within world. You can be a very different person. And that's sort of psychological. I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know the details of the psychology of it, like the psychological theory. But the human mind is expansive. And the way we create personas for like different situations actually carry over to the metaverse as well, because the metaverse is a different situation. It's like a different physical space. And that physical space is something that is sort of highly connected to what you are. The thing is, sometimes we don't know what we are. Sometimes we don't know who we are. And we can only be very honest when we're in the metaverse.
Okay, it's complicated, but interesting, right? And if you have a different persona for each life, is it because of the element of strangers that there is no feeling of being judged?
This is actually true for some of the metaverses that is anonymous, that are actually allowing anonymity. And that is true not just for metaverses, that's also true for social media. When you have social media that is like fully anonymous, you do have different personalities in there. This is pushed to the brink because the metaverse has sort of that strength of reality, that knowledge that you are in a physical space, and a real physical space, and even have a different avatar, a different avatar from what you physically are, and that can create new personalities. There has been multiple, psychological studies about this as well. Again, I'm not a psychologist, but like even uniforms that you wear might change the way you act. Now, if you're in the metaverse, you're actually using an avatar, which is a representation of who you are. The thing is, you can have any avatar you want. You can be a dog, you can be male or female or whatever. And the idea of having an avatar in world that doesn't match your actual physical shape, that creates like our mind changes the way we act within the world.
Okay, so we want to elaborate more about NFT that you prior talking about.
Yeah.
What does NFT mean, and could you give an example for that?
Sure, non-fungible tokens. So this is the opposite of fungible tokens.
Okay.
Fungible is replaceable. Like like $1 is $1. That's fungible. Non-fungible tokens are unique.
Okay.
Now, within the sort of the blockchain way of doing things, there is actually the non-fungible token type and also the semi-fungible token type, or like sometimes they call it multiple NFT. So the idea of this is that each NFT is not interchangeable with another NFT unless it's in the same group. Okay, so this is that's sort of the basic definition, but the way we use it is like we are using ownership certificates that is constantly updated. Like if you have a piece of land, you have an ownership certificate of that piece of land, and that transference, like if you transfer that land to someone else, that is also noted down. This is done automatically within the NFT. We're using NFTs, and when you create something, when you're an artist and you create a piece of art in the physical world, you are basically just creating that piece of art. If you are using NFTs to ensure that that physical art is owned by you and is traceable back to you, you are actually adding a certificate, an ownership certificate to that piece of art. So a lot of the, I think, sort of misdefinitions out there is that, oh, NFT is just images, it's just JPEGs, right? The key here is not that it's images. NFT is basically a certificate of ownership of any digital asset.
Okay.
It can be a document, it can be a book, it can be a piece of music, it can be land that is virtual.
Okay, so this is sort of like ownership certification of any digital asset. And then does it mean that we still can buy and also sell?
Yes, so there's actually a lot of NFT marketplaces out there. And I mentioned Unique One Network, and I mentioned Paras as well.
Yeah.
Those are both NFT marketplaces. There are aggregators as well out there. OpenSea is one of the aggregators of the NFT marketplaces. And when you buy and sell, you use crypto, which is why in your opening statement you mentioned that this is very closely related to crypto. Correct, because crypto mostly are fungible tokens. NFTs are non-fungible tokens or semi-fungible tokens. And the purchase is done on smart contracts. And in a good marketplace, those smart contracts are fully permissionless, as in it's not controlled by anyone. You're actually buying directly through the smart contract, buying these NFTs. So I actually mentioned in an earlier segment when I was in CNBC about the idea of decentralization. In the past, when you have to buy and sell, you have someone in the middle being the middleman of buying and selling. With NFTs and with the blockchain and with crypto, you don't have that middleman anymore, because the middleman is a smart contract. You are on the marketplace, you are buying and selling, you are actually on top of like multiple smart contracts working together.
Okay.
So it is actually very much a game changer, because the ownership of these marketplaces is shared by everyone.
Okay, so in NFT, how about the price? Is it, we can say, is it stable or like what?
This is a very good point. Now, NFTs are very different from crypto, because when you're talking about crypto, there's a lot of market forces as well. Well, NFTs also have a lot of market forces, but it always starts with price determination. So price discovery, basically. An NFT once minted is worth nothing at the beginning. But then once it's sold and bought by someone, it gains value. When it gains volume, people start buying and selling and buying and selling. This collection, that collection gains value. The more trust you get, the higher basically the rank of the trust that you have in it. It's quite different from like what, there are some similarities, but because this is non-fungible, each NFT is a different thing. So there are differences between the way the market works in these cases. And sort of the way that NFTs are created started with currently art. A lot of people are appreciating art. And the art world it has really taken the NFTs, like, they've taken the NFTs and ran with it. Sotheby's, Christie's, and many other art auction houses have already used NFTs and sold NFTs. And these are huge million-dollar auctions, multi-million-dollar auctions even. The way NFTs are going to evolve in the future is going to be for sort of not just the art part, but also the virtual worlds part, and going back to the metaverse, buying and selling land and items within metaverses.
Okay, and what about the metaverse? Why is everyone talking about it, and do we have to care about this?
I think you should. Even now, within COVID, during COVID, a lot of the metaverses are actually gaining a lot because there's a lot of people coming into these metaverses and not just playing. They're also having meetings, they're having events, they're having parties in the world. When I did the Octopus Network event, that was just last week actually, we just used this space, and this space had 8,000 attendees. So 8,000 people came. If it's a physical event, you wouldn't be able to get 8,000 people, especially with COVID restrictions, right?
Yes.
So with the metaverse, 8,000 people came, no issues. Some lag, but also there's a lot of people who can interact. A lot of people can hear the presentations and have a party together.
Okay, what a huge potential, right?
Right.
It's very interesting discussion, Ms. Pandu, but it's about time. So thank you very much for attending the discussion. Dan demikianlah dialog kami dengan Ms. Pandu Sastrowardoyo, Realty Chain Founder and Bibayo Network CEO.